Hi, I'm Kelly.
And hi, I'm Geoff.
And this is Blueprints for Belonging, where we're exploring how to build conscious connection in a disconnected world.
Because belonging doesn't happen by accident, it happens by design. Hey, Kelly.
Hello, Geoff.
Let's start.
Well, here we are again.
Yeah.
Isn't it fun?
Episode 3, Season 2. That's right. Yeah, I love doing this, actually. Yeah.
Well, today we're looking at 3 cognitive distortions. We're going to be doing that for every episode for a little while. That's just because we're just trying to help people understand what cognitive distortions are. Anyway, so these 3 kind of quietly influence our connection. Not because people are doing something wrong, but just because our minds are trying to make sense of what kind of comes up quickly out of reactionary kind of ways we've kind of been doing it.
Right. Uncertainty kind of can lead to that, right?
Anyway, so these patterns kind of shape how we interpret each other's behavior, how we respond emotionally to some people. Like, you're, what? What are you doing?
Right.
Anyway, so ultimately, whether we belong or not, it expands that connection. So anyway, that's what kind of
or contracts it.
Yeah.
So, and what's important here is that we are not talking about diagnosing anyone or fixing thinking.
Nope.
We are talking about awareness.
Yeah.
These are normal mental shortcuts, but when they go unnoticed, they can change how we see others.
Right, exactly.
And that's just, that's the problem.
So the 3 that we're going to focus on today, the first one is catastrophizing. And then the next one is should statements.
Oh, boy.
My favorite.
Yeah.
And then discounting the positive. Anyway, those, we kind of work on those together. They kind of all work together anyway, but one kind of amplifies a threat. One kind of imposes an invisible rule. That's the should ones. And then the other one kind of filters out the evidence of care that we have. So anyway, so those in combination, we can look and see how they can influence or affect our relationships, whether they start to feel unsafe or rigid, yet sometimes even when connection might feel a little impossible, sometimes those are kind of the impeding things that are kind of getting in the way. So
Right.
So anyway.
So this episode isn't about being more positive or less emotional. It's about noticing the stories that form automatically and how those stories influence belonging.
Yeah. So catastrophizing.
Oh, no.
But first, before we think of it, I'm sure everybody understands what catastrophizing is. But in a way, it's how our brain kind of jumps from uncertainty to the worst case scenario. That's kind of what it's doing. It's trying to make sense of our world. And so it jumps to, oh my God, this is going to be awful.
Yeah. Oh, this always goes wrong. It's just never going to work. Why is it always like this? And your cue with these is the use of words like always
and never
and ever.
Everything.
Yeah. I mean, and that highlights that, oh yes, you're talking in absolute certainty about things that are never absolutely certain.
So you brought up a good point about how our language influences these. For instance, everything is ruined, because something happened. Do you have any other examples that you might have noticed or been aware of? Or
Yeah, well, catastrophizing has been a big part of my life. Previously, of course. Oh, thank goodness. But it will prevent you from moving forward. It can prevent you from moving forward. You can get stuck in a catastrophizing cycle where I've lost every job that I've ever gotten, and no job has ever turned out in the past 5 years, so I'm doomed to be unemployed. You know, that's catastrophizing. And it's assuming that because it happened before, it's going to happen again, but it's going to be worse. And it's always like that, or it's never like that. Yeah.
So what do you think is helpful for people to have to not do that anymore?
Well, awareness.
Yes, you said the magic word.
Yeah.
Awareness begins from kind of our noticing of these things. If these are happening, or if you're seeing this repeated influence that has kind of happened over and over, then that's how you start to kind of work on it. So
Right. And if you hear those words that make you think, you know, it's that moment. That's the awareness kicking in.
well, it's not that I don't want you to not, use curiosity. I don't want you to
Whoa.
not be aware of something might happen, or be cautious about something happening again. I want you to be able to use that. But
Right. Well, that's learning from your experience,
Right.
right? Yeah.
Right.
So taking something on board and moving forward with it is different than standing still because you're afraid of it happening again.
Right. So this is about taking that connection to yourself and kind of recognizing and slowing down this responding to something. Or I don't want to say responding, but slowing down to respond, not reacting.
Right.
Right.
Because the reaction is the catastrophizing.
Catastrophizing, right.
And once you pause,
That was the word from last week.
pausing is amazing. I'm still learning to pause, actually. So, but when you pause, that gives you the space you need to think about the situation and come up with a response rather than a reaction.
Right.
Which I will tell you is one of the hardest things. I mean, and not necessarily with catastrophizing, but just period. Finding that moment, being aware that you've been triggered by something, and then taking that pause right then and there is one of the hardest things to do.
So when we catastrophize, we look for the worst possible scenario. And we believe that it's true. And then we go off as though it is true. How does that affect our relationships with others?
Well, it makes you inflexible and certain about things that aren't necessarily true and probably will not ring true for everybody because they aren't true. And so that's going to strain your relationships. That's going to strain the connections, if you have any.
So they're kind of like premature conclusions.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. And so if I'm in a relationship with somebody and I noticing that I'm catastrophizing, that this relationship won't work out, or this relationship is not going the way I want it to go, I haven't given that opportunity to kind of look at,
And to discuss it with the
other person.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So,
Yeah, because you... Where did it go? I'm sorry.
That's all right.
I'm looking for something real quick, and I can't do two things at once because I'm
all
a
right.
boy.
So I'll share a little bit more. So belonging requires tolerance for ambiguity. When we're not really sure what's happening, we have to use curiosity to kind of work through them. If I have somebody that's showing or sharing something in a way that might not make sense to me, then my task is to ask for clarity about what's going on. When we have a friend that we might have said, "Hey, let's get together," and they've put us off and said, if we catastrophize it, they don't want to be around me, or
Well, right. Not that they have something else going on in their
right.
life. Yeah.
But that helps us stay connected to that relationship versus trying to create a story that's fear-driven around it.
Well, right, assuming that they don't want to see you ever again.
Right.
Like, and that's just, yeah, it just sets yourself up for disconnection.
Mm-hmm. So why do you think we're talking about catastrophizing? I'm curious from your perspective.
Mine?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, she's asking me. I thought she was asking y'all. Because it's a very common cognitive distortion.
Well, just to let you know, we're in an era that is promoting catastrophizing.
Well, yes, we are.
Okay, just that's kind of why we're bringing it up, right?
Yeah.
Because
especially
we're making these
country.
right. We're making these leaps about certain things, and we're not going and getting accurate information. We're anyway, so that's why we're bringing it up.
We get a piece of information, we spin out with it, and off we go.
And off we go. Right. So anyway, so that's our first cognitive distortion for this episode.
Right. It is very time appropriate.
Yes, and our next one is
should statements.
Yes. Tell us. You should tell us all about it.
Well, yeah. Should is a hard word to eradicate. Mm-hmm. I still use it today sometimes, but not so much in the way that we're about to be talking about it. Mm-hmm. The thing is, it's actually a really horrible word. No matter how you mean to use it, it indicates that something should happen. And so I was on an airplane sometime in the mid-90s, and I don't know if I was flying for vacation or for business, but it doesn't really matter. So I was sitting next to this woman, and we started talking, as can happen on an airplane, and she noticed me using the word should a lot, and so she proceeded to tell me that I ought to stop shoulding myself. That the word should is, it's dictatorial, it's awful, you shouldn't use it. So there you go again, but it shouldn't. Mm-hmm. And I was in my late 20s.
Did you connect with her? Or no?
Well, we connected to have a conversation enough, but
when she shoulded you,
but when she told me what to do, I completely
overtly
ignored
shoulded
her.
You.
Yeah, exactly. And I just, it's only now in 2025, 2026 that I can appreciate what she was actually telling me, because I wasn't in the mind space for it. And that can happen.
So awareness fits both for these. Awareness for catastrophizing as well as for should statements. When we begin to notice these, I don't know, they're kind of tightening rules about life. That this is how it's supposed to be, these expectations of how something is supposed to be.
Right. Well, we learn that from family and culture and authority, which we're surrounded with, and that's how we learn how to live. But at the same time, they fill you full of these things.
Well, in some ways, I think of it another way. I think our distortions replace curiosity.
Well, because they are certain.
They're right, and we've been in culture to have certainty, and so anyway,
right.
And all of those things, or all of these, kind of lead into a moral failure. You're not doing it the way I want you to do, like your person on the airplane.
Right.
Even though she was pointing that out to you, that was great. But in some ways, she was trying to tell you what to do.
That's exactly how I took it.
Right. It would have sounded a little bit different. I'm curious. I'm noticing that you're using should statements quite often. I'm wondering if you're recognizing that.
Right. And I don't know if I would have responded differently or heard it more clearly back then, even with that statement. I just don't know where my mind space really was. But it highlights to me that sometimes, we aren't ready to receive certain knowledge. And
we haven't really learned a lot about what needs are in our life. I mean, we've been taught that needs are a weakness.
Well, yeah. Don't be so needy.
Right.
Oh.
Yet for you, needing some respect, I'm going to guess.
Mm-hmm.
Some clarity about what she might have meant.
Mm-hmm. Could have been helpful.
But or even collaboration would have been supportive.
But I guarantee you, back then, I didn't even know about needs. I had no clue. I mean, the needs were shelter, food, money. You know, those are my needs back then, and the needs that I could identify. But there are so many more needs that we all have. And it's becoming aware of those, which helps you see, oh, okay, I'm actually just needing autonomy in the morning. That's why I got all stroppy with my housemate, you know, because it wasn't working that way for me. But when I separate from the situation and I can look at it, I can go, oh, yes, I can see what actually happened, you know, the observation, and then the feelings I was having. I was afraid that I was going to be late for work. And then the need I was having was really morning autonomy. I just need to be left alone so I can get to work on time. And yeah, so I basically had an altercation with my housemate. That was a big teaching moment for me. This is the third time that this has happened. Different situations in each, of course, but third time that it's happened that I've approached her with violence and not nonviolence. And it hurts. It throws her off. It is.
So
it
let
is from
your
childhood.
listener know about what you're talking about, violence.
Right. Well,
not physical violence.
Right. No. I approached her with verbal violence.
Verbal violence, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So this case in particular, I got home from my exercise camp, and I noticed she's up. She's in the kitchen. She's doing something, and so I walk into the kitchen, and I can see that she's preparing onions on the stovetop, and I said, "Onions for breakfast?" And you can probably
hear the tone.
You can hear the tone, right? So you can imagine what my face must have looked like, because I wear my emotions on my face, and so that set the tone.
So that kind of set the should tone.
That definitely set the should tone,
yes.
Which was, I'm really good at it, which is not good. You know,
it's a wonderful teaching moment. Right.
This is a wonderful teaching moment, and actually, so I know that I said earlier this has happened 3 times. Well, and then I, without taking the pause, because I did not pause, I went into, I fed my cats, and then I turned to her and went into reactive mode, and I was fumbling over my words because I was bent out of shape, and she barely really understand me, but I was saying at some volume, you know, I could have already just had my peanut butter toast by now, and that
but I now have
you know,
onions,
and well, because the onions were just the one part of the meal that wasn't prepared yet, and I'm like, you know, do you remember our conversation last night? I told you I had to be at work early, and you know, it's just how I did it was so bad, and after we talked about it the next day, she showed me what I had done, and I heard it for the 3rd time, but this time it hit differently. And I'm so thankful for that, because I wrote in my journal about it, and I was compelled to do that, and I ran through a little scenario which basically replayed that morning. Okay, if it went this way, things would have been a lot smoother.
So there's the growth.
Right. Yeah.
Isn't that wonderful?
Yeah. But I noticed where I struggle is finding that pause.
And I appreciate you sharing that, because not a lot of people would share a lot about that kind of stuff. I want to acknowledge you for being that real.
Thank you.
You know, and sharing that, because those are the real life examples. And that's what we're looking at and talking about, because belonging isn't something. We're using the word belonging. It's about connection.
Yeah.
it's connecting with another person, but it's also connecting with myself before I try to connect with someone else.
Right.
So,
because you can't love another until you love yourself.
that's right. And
Yeah.
sometimes, when we're talking about the should statements, I should have been a better person. I should have done this. I should have done it this way. And, yes, you have this teaching moment, and it's a wonderful life teaching moment. Sometimes if we're not aware of these, we kind of turn them inward, or we direct them inward, and they turn into shame.
Right.
Okay, so I just want to share and show a little bit more about that. But that kind of, you're recognizing it, you're open to it, and you're aware of it. And that's the growth that we're all doing on this planet, is that we're doing this growth work together, whether we want to or not.
Well, right. Yeah. Because we're all here with each other.
We're all here with each other. Right. So let's just help each other learn. That's really kind of what we're doing, and why we started this podcast, because we want to help each other. Because if not, nothing's going to change if nothing changes.
Well, right.
So let's work on the...
And the only thing that's really constant in this world is actually change.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have to be a horrible change. It can be a happy.
Well, I think some of it, too, is recognizing where our moral tone comes from. Because it does come from the should statements. It does come from that shoulding. You should have done it this way. You should have done it this way. And a lot of that is we get encultured with that from our early childhood, from our family systems, from our school systems, from our... early work systems,
Yeah,
whatever.
It's friends and family.
Right. So it's just, again, we're just talking about creating this awareness to it, not something that you have to should yourself.
We don't want you to beat yourself up over these
or
things.
Should yourself. Yeah, right. I should have known
We just
better.
want you to notice, because that is the first step to being able to change something about it that you don't like.
So back to our big growth. Our big acronym is build awareness, investigate meaning, and generate choice. Right.
Yes.
So, all right. So anyway, so back to our belonging. So we're, why we're sharing this one. Why are we sharing about should statements? Why do we need to know about those?
Well, belonging grows through negotiated experiences, expectations rather. Not silent enforcement.
If we're not aware of where we've kind of come from and how we've been conditioned with it all, then we're going to keep using these. And,
absolutely.
And then we try to expect a different result, and we create this more disconnection.
Right.
So good.
Well, and that's why I actually, so then the next day, after I had a magnificent dream, I had the dream that night, actually. So after I was talking to my housemate, and I told her, you are a gift from the universe. And that began the conversation that was just, it was just what we needed to heal from this situation.
To grow.
Yeah, to grow. And it was marvelous. And then I had a dream that I was working on something where it had to be one thing with the other, and one thing was from me and one thing was from Jenny, and they worked beautifully together, and that was telling me that we are better together. Yeah, I just love dreams like that.
I do too.
Yeah.
Moving to our next one, our next cognitive distortion is...
discounting the positive.
Yeah.
No, not the negative. Discounting the positive, which means you're staying with the negative.
Right. Sometimes it's hard for people to hear positive stuff. Why do you think that is?
Embarrassment, which is right up there with shame. I don't know why you would be shamed to hear something nice about yourself from someone. Or I can't imagine what the reason would be for someone to discount the positive. I hear myself doing it sometimes, actually. I don't want to get into the story, so I'm not.
No, but for instance, somebody might be nice to you. Well, that doesn't count. She always is.
She's always that nice.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
That doesn't count.
Right. They didn't mean it,
Right, right. Oh, that's
just what they always
do. That's just an accident.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
So this distortion kind of coexists with that negativity bias. I don't think we've gone over that one, but we'll talk about it another time. But it kind of shapes this narrative of kind of where we're going. And over time, it kind of erodes hope, connection, motivation. Because if you continually get discounted for the actions that might be positive, that you might be contributing toward, like you took out the trash and nobody noticed you took out the trash, or you did something really nice and nobody thanks you for it, right? So you start to kind of pull back.
Why should I do that?
Why should I do anything?
No one's going to notice. So.
Right.
Yeah, wow. That's an unhappy place to be.
Right. So anyway, in some ways, discounting the positive, we kind of use it as a, what was I going to try to say? We kind of use it as a way of kind of minimizing or dismissing somebody else's, because I don't want them to get noticed, or I want to get that validation, not necessarily them. So I might use it to discount somebody else.
To benefit myself.
Or their progress, right.
Or sometimes it's just your mind kind of goes there. And so when you minimize, when somebody brings you good news or potentially good news about their life, try not to say, oh, well, if that actually turns out, because, I just have my doubts,
Well,
that's...
as a drug counselor, I saw it quite often. Families would discount the positive growth that their family member was making, or dismiss it as they're just doing it because this is what they're kind of caught. So they're not really being real or genuine, So then the family member who's dealing with addiction is hearing that. Why bother?
Right. Well, yeah, because if they're not gonna acknowledge it, then what's the point? I guess I'll just go back to drugs.
Right. So how it impacts a relationship is, in some ways, our efforts are not seen.
Repair attempts fail to land.
Right.
And hope diminishes even when change is occurring. That's so sad.
And, for that family member who's dealing with addiction, they're wanting the best for their family member who's dealing with addiction. Yet for that person who's dealing with addiction, they're unseen of what has been going on for them. They're not being heard, understood, especially when the discounting of their positive efforts and positive ways to change is that this is, and I'm not saying, oh, it's so great that they're going to AA. No, that's not what you need to do. You don't need to do that. You don't even really need to acknowledge it, other than, I hear you, I see you, I understand. So
right. And I know it sounds simple, but that
it's
is
really
enormous.
Powerful. Right.
Oh my gosh. I mean, the thing that everybody just about on the planet is missing, the needs that are unmet in their lives, start with being seen, heard, and understood.
So that acknowledgement is key. In some ways, it's kind of what, in our relationships, when we get acknowledged for the contributions that we contribute to the relationship, think about our world right now. There's not a lot of acknowledgments about the people who have been contributing to our world. There's a lot of complaining about those
who are contributing to it in a detrimental way.
Right.
Yeah.
But not with those who are really contributing with this care and love and generous.
Right, who are promoting the things like connection and happiness and joy.
So it makes sense that we
lives.
start to feel unsafe.
Right.
Or
Well, because
invisible.
all we're focusing on is the negative. And I agree, it's really, really negative. But you still have to put it through your own filter.
Mm-hmm.
So what are you going to do about it? Can you even do anything about it? How are you going to live your life in spite of it?
Mm-hmm.
You know, those are the things you need to ask yourself.
So these three cognitive distortions that we've just shared about discounting the positive, our should statements, and catastrophizing,
Mm-hmm.
they're kind of catastrophizing predicts danger or failure.
Right. Should statements define how others ought to behave.
Correct. And then discounting that positive removes that evidence that might contradict that story,
Mm-hmm.
which kind of constricts or that flexibility that we're looking for or needing is not going to be found.
Mm-hmm.
We don't really have those connections because I don't want to be around somebody who's going to be shooting me all the time.
Right. Or who's in constant catastrophizing mode,
Right.
you know, because it's
It's not
depressing.
pleasant, right? So anyway, so this is why we're bringing these to this awareness so that we help people understand a little bit more about them. So
Yeah. All right, well.
last week we invited everybody to practice that word. You talked about it, pause.
Pause.
That was about slowing down long enough to notice kind of what's happening before reacting.
Yeah. And this week we want to offer a different word.
Woohoo!
One that helps reopen connection after the pause.
And that word is consider.
Oh, love it. Consider creates space without forcing agreement. It invites us to ask, what else might be true? Or what context might I be missing?
Mm-hmm. So when we consider, catastrophizing softens, should statements loosen, and the positive has a chance to register.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't mean that abandoning your perspective, it just means widening it enough to let that curiosity come back.
Yeah, exactly. So this week, notice moments when certainty shows up and gently replace it with consider.
Woohoo, consider.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, consider this, because belonging often means not being right, but being willing to consider.
Yeah. It's not about being right, y'all. Surprise.
I know. Have fun this week.
All right, yeah, y'all enjoy your week. Thank you for coming back. Bye.
Bye. Thanks for listening to Blueprints for Belonging. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to follow. Leave a 5-star rating for us and share it with a friend.
You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you like to listen. Your support helps us keep building conscious connection in this disconnected world.